Hey, it's time for us to take a look at the Greyhawk, and this model has a propane fill up here on the passenger side. You flip open the door, and just like the other models, there's a yellow nozzle that you'd fill up prior to bringing it back. Most gas stations that service big rigs or trucks will also have a propane fill up. You can also call some propane places to figure out if that's a good spot. Campgrounds also have a propane fill up. Hey, I'm back here on the Greyhawk unit near the rear driver's side. You'll notice that I've opened the wet bay door and I've got it clipped to stay in place. In the wet bay, what you're going to find is a sewer hose and a water hose. You're going to connect these to the various connections here on the wet bay exterior. The first thing to connect is the sewer hose, which attaches here to the bottom. It simply clips on. The sewer connection. The first thing you want to do is put your sewer valve in place, and you can do so by just simply clipping it on like that. You'll feel it turn and clip. Now, the next thing that's really important is that when you're ready to flush your tank, you don't want to ever leave these valves open. You want to pull them to flush them. You want to first do your black and then your gray. That is your black and then your gray. Now, when you're ready, you just pull forward on these valves. I'm not going to do that right now because there may be something in the tank, but later in a demonstration video. And then when you're flushing the tanks, remember, always use your black water first before your gray water, because black water has solids in it and the gray water will flush those out. Now, inside there is a connection to how you would be able to get access to water. So you can set those based on the settings located on the board in here. It's really important that you pay attention to what settings the valves are on, or else you might run out of water during your trip. When you're at a campsite, you'll also want to hook up your campsite to your RV, and to do that, you're going to use the water hose, and you're going to hook it to the second connection here. That is your city water. This connects to the spigot, while this connects to the city water. You'll put those back in here when you're done with them. Now, for our next video, we're going to show you how to use the tank flush. You'll notice on the exterior of the RV, there are these two valves. The first one is not for water. It is for simply flushing out the sewer tanks that we showed you in a previous video. So you should pretty much ignore this until the end of your camping trip. You do want to flush your tanks because otherwise you could have some unsightly smells on the way home, and that's not pleasant for anyone. The bottom valve is for connecting to the campsite, and this is where you get your fresh water and you're ready to go. You can either fill up the tank or get fresh water for direct campsite use. That's all dependent on the valves on the interior of the wet bay, and you can change the valve locations to the corresponding numbers based on what kind of water needs you have. I'm about midway down the RV on the driver's side, and here I found the electrical connection. Now, this particular RV has a 30 amp electrical connection, and as you might notice, it may have an adapter on it. This is what the 30 amp looks like, and it'll plug into the campsite post. If you don't have a 30 amp, you might be able to find a 15 amp, and this adapter helps you plug that in. Remember, without a 30 amp, you can't run your AC. If you do need AC, you'll have to turn the generator on. This particular RV is equipped with an auto switch, so you don't have to tell it that you're plugged into the generator. It just senses and switches automatically. All right, so now we're at the electrical producing places here on this RV. The first thing we've got is the house batteries. These are the batteries that actually power the inside coach. So if the generator's not on, you're on the road and you're turning lights on and off, this is what the coach runs off of. Occasionally you may need access to them, but this is just to show you where they are. Now, next to them in this green box, we've got the generator. The generator produces all of the electricity for the coach, and in order to ensure that it's operating properly, you may need to take the panel off of it. You can refer to the Winnebago video, which includes the information on how to remove the panel and flip the breaker. Hey, we're here on the driver's side of the Winnebago, and we're looking at the generator. The generator produces all the power that you will need when you're not connected to the campsite. It is required to run the HVAC unit on the top of the RV or in the cabin. Now, one of the things that happens occasionally is that you use more power than the generator can produce. When this happens, it trips a breaker. I'm going to show you how to untrip that breaker. Okay. Once you've opened up the RV, you'll remove this cover. And look at the red switch. To the right of the red switch, there's a breaker towards the bottom. I'm going to flip that forward so that it's in the on position. Once again, I'm going to flip that forward so it's in the on position. Hey, now that we're inside the RV, you probably want to set it up. The first thing you want to do is extend the slides. There's a rear slide and a front slide, and they're both labeled. And then you're also going to want to make sure you turn on your generator if you're dry camping, but if you're at a campsite, you don't need your generator unless it doesn't have enough amperage available to run the AC. The minimum amperage is 30 amps. If you're using the small standard plug, then you should not run the AC because it'll blow the fuse. Now, inside of this panel, you also have an inverter switch, and you can check your tanks. As you probably recall from your checkout, you need to return your tanks empty, and the petroleum, or rather the LP gas, has to be full, and the fuel needs to be full. We will check on these things when you check in, and so use the panel to see what the levels are prior to departure. I'm in the cockpit of the Greyhawk. You'll want to adjust the seat and mirrors to make sure that you can see your blind spots. Remember, the top mirror is for long distance, so those are cars that are further off, while the bottom mirror is used for your blind spots that are right alongside the RV. Remember, the radio is equipped with cameras, so when you turn on your turn signal, you'll be able to see what's in that blind spot, but there's a 3 to 5 second delay, so it's not very useful for making immediate turns to the left or right. Now, on my left side, I have the headlight control that I can turn on and off. And then below my leg, to the very left, near the front driver door, is the parking brake pedal. It's to engage the parking brake. Now, on this particular model, it's really difficult to find the parking brake release. It's below the gray button that's near your left knee. That is, it's below the gray button that's near your left knee, and it's hard to see in the dark. In this case, I always keep my RV in the park position before I release the parking brake with my brake pedal depressed, such as this. When I release the parking brake, you'll hear a loud pop and you'll see the parking brake light go off. It's still in park, so I'm not going to go anywhere. Now, the only other features that you should be aware of are the stereo, which controls audio visuals for the entire RV, as well as GPS and the monitors for the front, left and right sides, and the rear reverse. That's it for the cockpit controls.